Hello, Tungsten Miner here. Today I'm going to talk about BuildCraft Transport Pipes. So these are items that allow you to move stuff from one inventory to another. So over here I've got a bunch of stone, and over here I've got nothing at all. And if I activate this redstone engine to produce a little power, it's going to start to provide power to the pipe, and this wooden transport pipe is going to start pulling items from one inventory and sending them over into the other. Now this is the specific job of wooden transport pipes. There's lots of other kinds of pipes that I'll talk about, but these are the ones that you use for moving items out of an inventory and into either directly another inventory or into a system of pipes. Because wooden transport pipes can't connect to one another, so you can't make a whole network of just wooden pipes. You have to switch to some other kind. As you notice, there's this opaque side, which indicates where things are coming from, and this transparent side, which indicates where things are going to. I can switch that by right-clicking with a BuildCraft wrench, and it's going to turn around any of the items that were in the pipe and start pulling from the other inventory, and eventually pipe all of those items that I had moved from the first inventory to the second back into the first inventory. And that's it. So now they're all going to go back to the prior inventory. But this redstone engine is bulky and kind of cumbersome, so the easier and smaller way to move things around is to use basic gates or any kind of gate with an autarkic pulsar installed. And basically what that means is you've got a gate that has this energy pulsar ability. I'm going to talk about gates in a different video and get into all the details, but suffice to say that's what this thing does, is it keeps providing power to move your items from one place to another. So when I turn on the switch now, it's going to start moving those items, and as you can see, it's a lot more powerful than that redstone engine is. It's moving them a good deal more rapidly. And eventually they'll all go across. So moving on, I want to talk about cobblestone and gold transport pipes. So cobblestone transport pipes are amazingly cheap to build. Let me get the recipe, cobblestone transport pipes. Yeah, that one right there. So you can see any piece of cobblestone, and I've got mods installed in my build that have lots of different kinds of cobblestone, with glass in the middle, and you get 8 transport pipes. All of the pipes have basically that recipe, just varying what material. So golden transport pipes are gold with glass in the middle, and cobblestone are cobblestone with glass in the middle. And as we look down the field here, we can see there's lots of different kinds, and they all work the same way, have the same recipe basically. As I start pumping things out of this chest, you can see they come out pretty slowly from the wooden pipe, and they continue moving pretty slowly in the cobblestone pipe. But when they get as far as this gold pipe, they're going to speed way, way up. And each time they go through another segment of gold transport pipe, they're going to go even faster, up to a maximum speed limit. So gold transport pipes are the speed up your items pipes. But when they come back into a cobblestone pipe, they'll start to slow down again. And that's where these 3 kinds of pipes come in. Cobblestone, stone, and quartz transport pipes all work basically the same way. They just move items along. But cobblestone transport pipes have a lot of friction, so they slow things down a lot. Stone transport pipes have less, and quartz transport pipes have the least. So they'll slow things down a little, but much less than the other 2. So if I turn on this lever, it's going to activate a bunch of BuildCraft circuitry down there. That's going to activate all 3 of these pulsars at exactly the same time and pull stone from each of these 3 inventories. And as they come out, what I want you to notice is what happens when they start going through these 3 different kinds of pipes. You notice the ones in the cobblestone pipes slow way down. The ones in the stone pipe slow down a little, and the one in the quartz pipe barely slow down at all. And so as they're making their way through, you can see they kind of bunch up a lot in the cobblestone pipe and not at all in the quartz pipe. So of course quartz pipes are made out of materials that are harder to come by, and stone a little bit less so, and cobblestone are the dead cheap ones. But they're also the slowest. So when you're making your builds, you kind of want to think about, which kind of pipes do I really want to use? How important is it that they go fast? Because you can use your gold transport pipes to speed up the items, but you'll start losing that speed pretty rapidly again if you pop them back into a cobblestone transport pipe. Whereas if you put them in a stone pipe, or even better, a quartz pipe, they'll slow down a lot less, and you'll get a lot more mileage out of that gold. The next kind of pipe is a sandstone transport pipe. And as you can see here, this cobblestone pipe connects directly to this chest and has that clear side, meaning stuff's going to go out there. But this sandstone pipe does not. Sandstone pipes work just like stone pipes, except they don't connect to inventories. So if I turn this on and start moving my items from one side to another, you'll notice they go right by each of these inventories. They ignore them completely. Now they do connect to other pipes. So you see it's connected to this wooden transport pipe, and it's connected to this cobblestone transport pipe, but it's not connecting to the inventories. They'll go right by. So this is handy when you need to route some items along, say, the back of a bunch of chests or near some machinery. Next up is some clay transport pipes. Now these guys they're kind of the opposite of your sandstone pipes, because they prefer moving things into inventories instead of moving them into the next segment of pipe. So if I've got a bunch of stuff in here and I start moving it, what's going to happen is it's going to get this far and notice there's an inventory there and keep filling up that inventory. It's going to keep moving things into the inventory until it's completely full. And it will ignore the rest of these pipe segments. Now, if I break the chest to make it go away, the things that are moving in that direction already will just pop out of the pipe. That's another part of BuildCraft pipes, is things can fall out of them if stuff happens. But now that the rest of the items are going to carry straight on, and they're going to go through the chest. So things in clay pipes will only move to the next segment of pipe if there's no available inventory for them to go into instead. Okay, over here, I've got an iron transport pipe. But before I talk about that, I want to show off another feature of pipes that makes that much more interesting. So here I've got some stone, and here I've got a quartz transport pipe that has a branch in it. It goes off in one direction, goes off in the other direction. And what happens when things start moving down a pipe and there's a branch where the two sides are the same kind of pipe is it's just going to randomly pick a direction, which means it's going to be roughly 50-50, but not necessarily exactly 50-50. So some are going to go one way, some are going to go the other way. There's no real rhyme or reason to it. There's no pattern necessarily. Now, it's roughly equal portions, but you can't count on that if you need things to be precisely equal. So as I watch all this stuff going through, we'll wait until everything gets to where it's going and see exactly what proportions of the stone wound up in which sides. Okay, this one wound up with 32, that one wound up with 32. So, hey, dead even, awesome. Doesn't happen that way every time. Other times where I've done that same experiment, it didn't work out that way. Okay, back to this iron transport pipe. So here we've got a similar situation to what we had over there, where there's a branch. But with an iron transport pipe, you can see that things are shaded a little differently. The opaque side is the input side, just like with a wooden pipe. The opaque side also is the input side. Okay, so these are two input sides, which means this transparent part is the output side. So any items coming into this junction are always going to go out on this side, not that other side. Now I can change this by whacking it with a wrench, and it's going to shift between these two cobblestone pipes. Well, why not the wooden pipe? Well, wooden pipes are input pipes. They're extraction pipes. They pull things from inventories and put them into systems of tubes. So it's not going to allow you to push things back into that wooden pipe. And the iron gate, or the iron pipe, is smart enough to know that that's not a valid position. Just like it's not trying to connect to and push things into this lever, because that's not a valid inventory either. So too is it able to detect that that's not a valid place. So when I hit it with the wrench, it just goes back and forth between the valid locations. Now I can also control this by giving it a redstone signal. So if I flip this lever, it's also going to flip that iron pipe. Now if I turn this one on, it's going to activate my pulsar and start sending items through. And as they go through, you can see they're going to go straight to this side because that's the output side, the transparent side. If I flip it, anything that enters the pipe after the flip is going to go the other way. So it's not instantaneous. It takes a little bit. The things that are already in the pipe are going to go through the direction they were already headed, but anything new entering the pipe is going to go off in the direction that it's been changed to. So you can use your redstone signals to flip things back and forth. And of course, gates allow you to produce redstone signals, so you can make some reasonably sophisticated things here, but remember, it's not instantaneous. Okay, so moving along, the next thing to talk about is a diamond transport pipe. These are pretty expensive. 2 diamonds and a piece of glass will get you 8 of them, but they can do some pretty amazing things. These are your sorting pipes. So you notice, instead of having just an opaque and a transparent side, they've got colored sides. And in fact, if I had an inventory or a pipe on the top here, you'd see that the top is black and the bottom is white. So those outputs are all different colors, and it's always the same direction. So I'm facing north right now, and north is always red. South is always blue, west is always green, east is always yellow. No matter what world you're in, no matter what direction you're facing when you put them down, they're always going to wind up that way. And when you right-click on them, you get this interface. So up, down, north, south, west, east. And you can drop items in here in order to say, I only want things like this to go down that direction. So right now, I've made it so that anything heading south, the only things allowed to go south will be stone blocks. Now south is going back into a wooden transport pipe. So actually what will happen is it'll notice, hey, there's some stone blocks, and I can't put them in that inventory. So they'll bounce off and go in some other direction. The other direction is determined by what other sides are connected and what other filters there are. So you notice I don't have a filter on red. Nothing in this row, which means anything that comes into this which isn't one of the specifically selected items, that is yellow or lime wool, is going to go down red because I don't know what else to do with it. But on the green side, only lime wool will be allowed, and on the yellow side, only yellow wool will be allowed. So I've got a chest full of different sorts of wool, and we can see that in action. The yellow ones will go to yellow, green ones will go to green, and everything else will go straight through. Because green in the green side, yellow in the yellow side, and red is the only side remaining that has no filter, so everything else can go in that direction. Next, obsidian pipes. So I'm going to turn on this engine, get a little bit of power going while I explain what they do. These are item pickup pipes. So if you drop an item on the ground and there's no engine running, it has to actually touch the obsidian pipe, but if it does, the obsidian pipe scoops it up and puts it into whatever pipe system or inventory it happens to be connected to. So there's that chunk of stone. Over here, I've added a redstone engine, and it's very slowly getting itself up to power. And as it does, it will increase the range of that obsidian pipe. So that if I drop something in that sandy patch, it'll pick it up. Now, it didn't touch the obsidian pipe, it just landed in that sandy patch. If I drop something a little further away, that's too far, I won't be able to pick it up. But if I drop it close enough, it'll manage to scoop it up. Now, if I turn off that and I turn this on, the Stirling engine is a more powerful engine, generates more RF per tick. It requires fuel, so you have to keep it supplied. But as you do that, it's going to be able to pick up things from a much further distance. That's just outside of range, and that's just inside of range. So you can see a long ways off, that thing is able to pick things up. This guy is a combustion engine. It runs on liquid fuel of one kind or another. So if I get him going, he's going to much more rapidly get up to power and produce a lot more power, but there's a maximum range to obsidian pipes, and this is it. So it kind of doesn't matter if you use the more powerful engine, at least not in the more recent versions of BuildCraft. I can have that thing going as much as I want, and it's not going to pick up items any further away than the Stirling engine does. But it's got the same range. Moving on, talking about emerald transport pipes. So just like wooden pipes are extraction pipes, they pull things out of inventories, so too are emerald transport pipes. But they have additional features. So right-clicking on the emerald pipe, you can see I've got a filter that I've set up. You can have a whitelist where only the items in the filter are allowed to be extracted. You can have a blacklist where the items in the filter are not extracted. And you can have a round-robin filter where it's going to pick up this one, and then this one, and then this one, and then this one, if there are any, and then start over again and work its way through. So I've got these 3 emerald pipes set up so that they've all got the same items in their filters, but they're each using a different kind of filter. And I've got these 3 chests set up, each of them with 8 blocks of dirt, stone, and oak planks. So this one is a whitelist. I should only see stone and dirt coming out. And it's going to first get all the stone that it can, because that's the first thing in the filter. And then it's going to get all the dirt it can, because that's the next thing in the filter. And it's going to leave the wood behind, because that's not in the filter. This one is a blacklist, so it's going to pull out everything that's not dirt and stone, which is to say just the wood. And once all the wood is out, it's going to ignore everything else. This one is round robin, dirt and stone, or stone and dirt. And it's going to pull out one piece of stone and one piece of dirt, and then one piece of stone and one piece of dirt, and just keep cycling back and forth between those 2 things. If I had more items in the filter, it would cycle through all 3 or all 4, however many. But since wood is not in the filter, it's going to ignore the wood, even as it's cycling between the various other materials. So that's emerald transport pipes. Okay, this is not as bad as it looks. It is complicated, but I'll walk you through it. This is all about our, let's get that hooked up right, Lazuli transport pipes and our Diazuli transport pipes. What these things do is anytime an item moves through a Lazuli transport pipe, it gets painted. It's a little square around it of whatever color. So red if it went through this pipe, or yellow if it went through this one. And you can cycle through these by shift right-clicking on the pipe, and it will change the color that things get painted when they go through that pipe. And of course, for my example to work, I need to get that back to yellow. Over here, I've got some magic pipe stuff set up so that all these gates will come on at the same time. And I've got these pipes set up so that they each have a whitelist for a different item. This one pulls out dirt, this one pulls out wood, and this one pulls out stone. And they're each whitelist, so that each of these will only pull out items of those kinds. But of course, all of the dirt that comes out of this one is going to get painted with this red color, and all of the stone is going to get painted with this yellow color, and all of the wood is not going to get painted at all, because it doesn't go through a Lazuli transport pipe. Everything connects to this iron transport pipe so that I can be sure that the output is consistent. So they're all going to get mixed together again back into this quartz transport pipe. Then they're going to get to this Diazuli transport pipe. These work a little bit like iron transport pipes and a little bit like diamond pipes. When something comes into them that's painted the same color, it's going to go through the output side. If something comes through that's not painted the same color, it's just going to keep going straight. So all of the dirt is going to get painted red, come through here and around, and wind up coming to this pipe and going out its output side. So all the dirt is going to wind up in this chest. All the stone is going to get painted yellow and therefore go out this output side, this transparent side, and wind up in this chest. And all of the wood, which doesn't get painted, is going to wind up going through this chest. So let's take a look. All of them activated, all of them start pumping their stuff out. The wood does not get changed, but if we look at this dirt, as it goes through, you can see that red marker get added, and over here we're seeing yellow markers get added. Oops. I forgot, redstone signal changes my iron transport pipe, so it keeps moving the sides. But as we see, things will eventually straighten themselves out. All the red and yellow are coming up to these. The red ones move off to the right to the output point. All the yellow ones move off to the left. And sooner or later, here they come. All of the wood blocks got re-extracted through the emerald and are neither going left nor right because they're not painted with those colors. But instead, they go straight through and they're going to wind up in this chest at the end. So it was an oversight, but it's an important oversight and it's an easy one to make. When this signal down here gets activated, it makes a redstone signal. And that affected this iron transport gate, which made it shift to one side. And so my pipe system got messed up and things started going where I didn't want them to go. This is very easy to do, especially when you're doing things like this, which is pretty tight together. So when you're dealing with iron transport pipes, be aware of redstone signals happening in its vicinity because that will definitely mess things up for you, as it just did for me. Okay, two more quick things to talk about with transport pipes. You notice all of these pipes connect with one another pretty much automatically. I didn't have to do anything. You just plop them down. And if you've got a bunch of pipes of the same type, they'll all connect with one another. So you can lay down pipes next to each other without having them connect if you make them with different color glass. So when I made this quartz transport pipe, I used lime colored glass, just regular Minecraft vanilla lime glass. And when I did this one, I used pink glass. And these two sets of pipes, despite both being quartz transport pipes, and normally quartz transport pipes will connect to other quartz transport pipes, these two don't connect to each other because they were made with different glass. So if you're trying to make a pipe system tight together in a small space, I strongly recommend thinking about using different color glass to signify things going in different directions or things going to different destinations, or just to alternate colors so that you can pack them in a much smaller space. And finally, last thing. This looks just like the setup we've had in a number of other places, a little bit of transport pipe and extraction pipe. But on this end, I've already filled up this chest, completely stock full of stone. So what's going to happen when I start pumping out some more stone and send it over there? Well, this is one of the areas in which BuildCraft Transport Pipes are not so smart. As the items get pulled out, whoops, I forgot to set up my gate. So I'm going to say when there's a redstone signal, I want my energy pulsar. So now as those items get pumped out, they're going to go off into this pipe over here, but when they get to this last little segment, they're not going to be able to be inserted in this inventory because there's no room. But what does the pipe do with them at that point? Well, not what you'd like, really. They get dropped all over the ground is the problem. So anytime you have a full inventory or some kind of goofy, messed up thing in your pipe system and you wind up not being able to move things around, all of your stuff is basically just going to get dropped on the ground. And we all know what happens to Minecraft items that just get dropped on the ground and left there, is that they disappear after a while. So depending upon what you're doing, this may be very disappointing and aggravating. So I strongly encourage you to think about that as you're building your different systems and to allow for some kind of overflow, or at least make sure that whatever you wind up doing, you've got a way to avoid this problem. Don't wind up overfilling your inventories on the edges of your pipe system. One way to deal with this, if I give myself a little bit more quartz transport pipe, is I can put this here, and now when I try to move things around, what's going to happen is half the time it's going to go this way, and half the time it's going to go that way. In fact, I could give myself an iron transport pipe to avoid that. But suffice to say, here comes the items. They're going to split off in different directions and not go into this chest because it can't. That's full. So whenever an item gets to this juncture and has to make a choice, do I go this way or do I go that way? It's going to wind up not going that way because it's full. And so these items are just going to float around inside this transport pipe system forever until there's room for things to go through. And if I extract more items into this pipe system, they're going to keep going. Over and over and over, forever. And they can, I think, have pretty much an infinite inventory. I've never run into a limitation on how much stuff can stay in there, nor for how long it can stay in there. So at a minimum, adding in this kind of loop gives you some protection against things just getting dropped on the floor and going all over the place. Now, of course, if I had an iron transport pipe here, which pushed things in this direction, and a clay transport pipe here, that would mean nothing would go into the loop unless there was no room. In which case, the clay transport pipe would say, oh, no room, I'm going to send you down this path. They're going to come around here, and the iron transport pipe is going to push them down here. So give me just a moment, I'll set that up to show you. Okay, slight change. Now I have my clay transport pipe and my iron transport pipe, and as I start moving items in, they're going to come into this iron transport pipe, go to the output side. The clay transport pipe is going to attempt to insert them into the inventory and find that it's full. And so this side is no longer valid. Instead, it's going to send them down this side. But that's just going to make them go back around the loop and come through the iron transport pipe again, go to the output side, still full, go back around the loop. So I can trap these items in this pipe system and just have them go in a nice, tight, controlled loop forever until room frees up in this chest. And that's it for transport pipes in BuildCraft. BuildCraft, like I said, really big mod, has lots and lots of other stuff, so you can expect more videos to talk about the remaining things in BuildCraft. If you liked the video, go ahead and hit that like button. If you want to find out when the next video is ready, hit the subscribe button, and I will talk to you later.